Yep, we are live. Welcome back to another episode of Seminole Sideline 365. I am KB, and next to me is
Bruce.
there you go. Thanks again for joining us today. Today we'll be breaking down the running back position and how it looks going into the 2022 season. And I like to call these bourbon and breakdowns because I will be drinking or sipping on a little bit of something here. If you want to know what that is, it is Blade and Bow. And check it out. I give it a 4.4 out of 5 right now, and I will let you know if it gets worse or better as the night goes on. And what are you drinking, Bruce?
I'm hydrating today. Pure H2O. H2O. I'm sorry, not HTO. H2O. You got to hydrate, okay? It's very important. And I'm hydrating. You know why? I watched the Daytona 500 here in Florida today, and I'm going next year. I'm buying tickets as soon as they come out. They had a brilliant day here today in weather. NASCAR, the weather can get a little rough at times, all right? Because, if it rains at all, it shuts it down. It's done. And so they'll wait it out for hours, or you have to come back the next day. So it can be a little problematic. But what a great race that was today. I imagine there's a lot of our fans and future viewers out here. Whether you see this live or you see it on replay, we appreciate you guys being with us. But if you saw that Daytona 500 today, it was a heck of a race and a lot of wrecks, and came right down to the end. Bubba Wallace, he got second place, and he lost out just by a few feet. Okay. And who was it that won? Cedric, what's his name? I can't remember his last name. Cedric. He's a rookie. He's 21 years old. I think it's his first, maybe second start, and he took it. He took the trophy home. What a big career win for him. 21 years old. He's the next gen driver driving the next gen car. And any of you guys out there in iRacing, I'm an iRacer. Drop us a comment. Tell us what you think about iRacing, Daytona, FSU. We're here to talk to you. We want to hear from you. That's what I did.
iRacing. Feel free to leave a comment as well as to why you hate iRacing.
Why did you get out of iRacing so quickly, Mr. KB? Because you got in so many wrecks and you don't have the patience for it. I'm an A level.
I don't have the patience to sit at a plastic steering wheel for 2 hours and play a simulated race. You're right.
Okay, but you play other simulations.
It actually gave me headaches. So.
Oh, stop! You play other simulations, though, right?
No, like battle simulations where I can actually feel like I'm doing something, but that's beyond.
What do you mean if you're doing something? I'm driving a car 180 miles an hour right on somebody's bumper. That is doing something. Okay.
That's beyond the point that we're here to talk about today.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason I'm dressed the way I am is because we are not hosting NASCAR races. It is around 32 degrees where I am on the East Coast, so I am freezing with my electric blanket under me, and but here we are, we're talking about football.
Lord, hey, that's football weather, brother. That's football weather. Woohoo! Yeah, it's beautiful here. Okay,
all right. Let's break down. So today, like I said, we're going to be discussing. We discussed quarterbacks earlier in the week or last week. Tonight we're discussing the running back position, and there's a huge loss of production on that side of the ball. Joshua Corbin's going pro. He had, I believe, 2 years of eligibility still left after transferring from A&M. So it is a big loss. We look at kind of the production loss there, where basically he and Travis made up over 1,000 yards or over close to 1,500 yards of production last year, and there was a major drop off when you go from having Corbin to not having Corbin, and most of that yards then coming from your quarterback being the other half of that. So that's where we start off today. Bruce, or how do we replace that production? How do you think that's going to go? I'm just going to quickly pull up on the screen that loss of production of what I'm talking about, so everyone kind of understands what we're looking at here. When you look at the running position here in the World Stream recap, as you can see here, you have a major loss on that side of the ball. And of course, I get this major ad, but essentially what we're looking at here is, like you see here, over 1,500 yards, close to 1,400 yards lost. And then you have drop off. Treyshawn Ward was your third back there that is returning for a walk on. So let's start off. What do you think this impacts? Do you think that losing Jayshawn we're going to feel it next year, or do we have guys, Super Bowl backups that can come in? What are your initial thoughts here before we dive deeper?
Yeah, I think it's an issue. Now, you could look at this in two ways, right? Is it an issue? Is it an issue that in the running backs room, do we have quality athletes? I don't think they have to be superstars, because these guys were superstars in high school. Okay, they wouldn't be in D1 if they weren't superstars in high school. I mean, a lot of these guys were rolling up big yards. Now, it's hard to judge the competition, who they're playing in high school, okay? And then you got the camps and how many stars they are and things like that. Or is it the athlete in the running backs room, or is it the offensive line, and a combination of two? Is it the guy our running back doesn't have the vision to get through a crease, because our offensive line is not going to probably produce massive size holes that these guys are going to run through. Okay, so these guys are going to have the vision and the quickness to hit a hole. If you're not quick to the ball and to the hole, you're probably not going to play a lot. All right. Yeah. So in terms of production, what you led off with, I totally agree. So Corbin, the numbers I read, you correct me if I'm wrong, or if there's a viewer out there that wants to correct us, that's fine. That's good. Leave us a comment, throw a comment up here, and we want to talk to you. Corbin carried the ball 143 times. Carried the ball 143 times. I'm not putting in any receptions he made. He had 887 yards. That's a pretty good figure for a team that won 5 games, right? Yeah. That's almost like a Cam Akers type of performance. And I think that's why Corbin went into the draft, okay? And Corbin is very much like an Akers. He had to grind out tough yards, the whole season. Mm. So anything he got was a plus. He's a tough guy. He's a true team player. He put up with a lot of damage, and the guy's got speed. You can see on the videos there. This guy can run. Yeah, all right, and he can run over people too. Yeah. So he brings power and he brings vision, and you see him hit the holes pretty quickly, which he had to do. So here's the big number that I think is going to catch. I don't think he's going to go in the first, second round, but I think he'll go in the middle rounds if people look at him like they did Cam Akers. Okay. Wait a minute.
He's not Cam Akers. So don't.
I said if they look at his production as a Cam Akers.
But you keep saying, if you saw some of those holes, he had much better holes. It's not the same situation Cam was in. You have to stop saying that.
Let me finish my thought. Here's the big number. The 887 yards is a good number on a 5-7 team. I don't think there's any disputing that. He had averaged 6.2 yards per carry.
Yeah, you don't do that if you're behind a bad line like that. That's
So you're saying that is a plus up for the line, huh?
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying it isn't. Yeah. I'm not saying it isn't.
Absolutely is. It's a testament that I think a lot of times they didn't have a full commitment to running the ball, or it was they didn't have enough. It wasn't a full commitment to running the ball, so he wasn't getting the ball a lot or consistently, or they were playing with Ward and then Toafili, and then there was more of this trying to get the passing game going more than trying to get the running game going. So I think that was most of it. I don't think he had the inability to run the ball. It showed, and that's why he's going, because he showed enough on tape with an average yards of, like you said, 6 yards per game to run. So I don't think the issue is he left because he knew the O-line was bad. I think he just saw, okay, I showed enough on tape. I don't need to take another year beating on my body in college to go. So I don't see that as an issue.
Well, I agree. I agree with pretty much everything you just said there. That he's put enough on tape.
Yeah.
He's put 887 yards on tape. He's put 6.2 yards per carry on tape. I think he caught a few balls along the way. He caught some balls along the way.
Receiving. Yep.
Yeah. So and the NFL wants to see if you can catch the ball. That's what they liked about Cam Akers too, that he can catch the ball. He can be that check down safety valve, have decent hands, and then get out in free space. So it's going to be, back to your original question, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to replace Corbin. And we have to remember, Corbin came to Florida State through the portal, right?
Yeah.
He was a portal guy. Yeah. So, and then you made a statement earlier, which I agree with. The second leading running back on the team last year was Jordan Travis.
Yep.
Jordan Travis, he gets if I read this right, he had 134 carries. Is that possible?
No. I don't think. No, that's not correct. He would be.
I'm gonna look that up. But is that possible?
He didn't have that many carries. He didn't have.
I'm gonna have to. That doesn't even make any sense, does it? No.
I don't believe that is the case. If that is the case, that would be jarring. But I do not believe he had a very good clip in terms of, he ran for 4 point yards per rush, 530 yards. Maybe he did attempt.
He did. Because he had 134 carries.
Yeah.
And he averaged 4 yards a carry.
Yeah.
And 530 total yards.
Which
so
is nuts. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
But see, and that shows what we talked about in the last show, and that was what? That was if he's running that much, he's going to get hurt. At some point, he's going to make a big mistake, and some linebacker is going to take him out. All right? So that we don't need to get back into that. That's in show number 1. The third leading running back last season was a walk-on, and that's Treyshawn Ward.
Yeah.
And that's the question we're going to ask ourselves tonight. Is Treyshawn Ward the number one guy slotted, on the board there? Is he the number one guy going in? He had 81 carries for 515 yards. That's a lot of yards on 81 carries. That's a lot of yards.
He also caught the ball really well. So let's just go right into that. So we understand that losing Corbin is a big hit. He was a great contributor to the team. Came off a big injury when he came to Florida State. Produced, and we wish him well because he, if he hadn't been literally splitting carries with Travis to run the ball as well as Ward, he probably runs for 1,000 yards easily last year.
Oh yeah, he would have gotten 1,000 yards.
Yeah. So there's a lot of splitting carries obviously when Travis is almost your shining.
Well, let's face it. Travis wasn't running as a running back. He was running for his life as a quarterback.
Some of that, but yeah, moving forward. So let's look at the people we are going to have. So like you said, you returned Treyshawn Ward, who is a former walk-on, who has, was the practice team all-star, who for the last 2 years, primarily last year, got actually to, play in games primarily and got to show what he has. And he did show off 6.4 yards per carry average, 4 touchdowns, 167 yards of receiving, 5 total touchdowns. So, he showed what he can do. And I still think he has 2 or 3 years of eligibility. I think 3 years of eligibility still left. So there's lot.
He's a redshirt sophomore.
Yeah. So he has a lot to still give. And he obviously is trying to show what he has. And so behind him or next to him, you have Lawrence Toafili, who's been with the program now, I think a couple of years. He's been with 2 years. He's been with the team. Last year was kind of a down year for him. Same number of games he played in the year before, lower the amount of attempts. His yards per rush went down, only 1 touchdown. He really didn't get into the groove of things. I think he ran into some injuries, but he didn't really become what they thought he would. And there wasn't really, not that I know of, the person that was.
What is it they want out of him, though? What did they see him as a tailback?
They want him to be. Well, that's the thing. In Norvell's system, he can do a lot of things. because he's not this bulking. He's probably 175, 180 pounds. He's not a big dude. They say they list him at 6 foot, 185. I would find that hard to believe. I think they want him to get bigger, to be able to take full-time running back. But I think he didn't get to that point, and I don't know this for sure, but I don't think he got to the physical point where they could play him a lot of snaps. I also think just Treyshawn Ward was physically and play-wise, he just was ready. He was more mature and ready to play ahead of him, so he got more on-field touches. But we can dig more into that. And then lastly, we have who I think is going to fight for the position this year is DJ Williams, who was a transfer from Auburn, didn't get to play there a lot, transferred to Florida State, and only played in a handful of games, it was his first year in the system and playing behind established starters and Corbin and then Ward and Toafili. So many people, and we'll get to him at the end here, but I think many people believe that this could be his year to actually start. He got his body right. There's been video that's been leaking that he looks like he's trimmed down. He's physically ready, and he was, a good prospect coming out of high school, and he's kind of the prototypical back that Norvell would like to use in his system, which is all he had to do is kind of learn the system, get his body in shape, and then he'd be ready to take that next step because he is built like a bigger version of he's 220, 5'10", 220. He's a big guy. So he can run over, and I'll play some clips later. But those are the primary guys I think we're going to talk about, unless there's more. So we can start at the top, and we can start with Treyshawn. Is that a guy that you believe can be the primary replacement to Corbin, or do you think it's going to be a running back by committee sort of deal?
Well, I think going into the spring, based on what we have in the running back room here. Yeah, I think Treyshawn is number one on the board. Okay, he's the heir apparent to Corbin at this point. Mm-hmm. He's the heir apparent because he's had the most snaps. He's got the most experience coming into the room. So you're not going to deny him that unless he's had a letdown in the off season or something. Yeah. So I think he deserves it. He's probably, got a chip on his shoulder, and that's why he's playing so well. Now, he's a redshirt sophomore, so you might have 2-3 years out of this guy. Now, the question is I don't think there's anybody in the room at this point that is a feature back that is going to be on Sports Illustrated's, top 10 in the country list at this point.
I just don't think the offense built for that, though. I don't think when you have Travis, running the ball half the time, which is some design, some is just when he's open. I don't think there's going to be a 1,500, 1,600 yard rush on the team. I don't think the offense is built like that right now.
That's fine. You don't need that. But if you can get a couple of guys that can put together, you need a couple of guys that can put 500 to 700 yards each. On the statistics, I think that goes a long ways. But I think Treyshawn Ward is the number one guy coming into the spring, and I think a lot will determine, how he does in the spring and whether he emerges as that guy coming out the fall. Now like you said, he's not a little guy. He's 5'10", almost 200. I'm sure he's going to come in around 200 pounds. And he can run, and he's a little bit of a brawler, and I like that. I like that in him, and I think he's proven that he deserves the number one look at this point. Now you brought up DJ Williams. DJ Williams played little or nothing last year, and that concerns me a little bit. This guy comes in from the portal. They must have thought they were going to get more out of him.
No,
You're not going to. Well, why? Why do you say that?
Because, like I said, I think they brought him in as a development project. You knew you weren't going to use him right away, and so you bring in this great athlete that you think you can develop. I don't think. I mean, you knew you had Corbin, you knew you had Toafili, you knew you had Ward, you had guys like Douglas who are freshmen. So I don't think you were expecting this guy to be the sole running back. I think it was more, let's bring this guy into the system. He fits what we want. if he buys in, he can develop himself and then be ready to take the next step because we think Corbin will be, ready to go after that. So I think that was really the plan there. And now it's worked out. Now Corbin's gone. He has a chance. He's got his body right. He's trained. He knows the system. He knows the playbook. Okay. Now he has the chance to actually compete for the spot. Now, I would be concerned if in the spring he's not one of those 1 or 2 backs that's being featured in the spring game, and we're not seeing him play in the first couple of games. That would be concerning. That would feel like a failed project there. But I think, to your point, I think that in what I'm hearing and seeing on the Discord boards and stuff like that is that they expect him to compete highly for the spot this year, just because of what Norvell wanted out of him is starting to come to fruition in training. But we have to see it on the field, of course. That's the biggest thing, right?
Well, well, let's say, and I don't have anything to say that he wouldn't be like the number 2 guy in the room right now. I think he's the number 2 guy the number 2 guy in the room based on one, he's got the size that we actually need. 5'10", 215, as you said, he's a redshirt junior. Yeah. So this is going to be the key year for him. If he doesn't show anything this year, or he doesn't get on the field, then he won't be on this team next year. He'll go into the portal. Why the heck would he stay on this team? Okay.
Yeah, I think they got to get him shut up. I don't think he had a chance to show what he had either last year. So I don't think it's whether he has or not. I think you can see by some of these clips, he has the ability to make plays. Now he learned the system. Now can he show it?
Well, it's also his dedication. They go through the mat drills there. The strength coach, he beats him up here for a few weeks. And how much dedication does a guy like this, he's a junior now. He should be in a leadership position. And he's big enough to cause some damage. So if you get Treyshawn Ward and DJ as 1 and 2 in there to carry the load and can get you 500-600 yards apiece or more with an improved offensive line, that's a good start. So I don't have anything else on those guys at this point. Now you mentioned Lawrence Tolafila. Toafili. He came out as a superstar when he was recruited. He was recruited prior to Coach Mike, correct? Did Mike get him or Willie got him?
Willie. I think he was a Willie recruit, yeah.
Okay, now the problem with him is he didn't carry the ball much at all last year. Now, you know why? Because I think he is around 6 foot. I think he is a tall kid at 185. He's a string bean. He's the type of guy that if they can get the ball to him in space, then I think he can go out and do some damage. We saw him flash some stuff in games, and he can
play. I think.
Yeah.
Where he did the flip and he caught that. Yeah. I think that was his highlight of this year is when he made that.
Yeah. So if he can catch the ball, which it looks like he can catch the ball, we know he can run. We know he's fast. He's big enough to run over some people in the defensive secondary. So at a redshirt sophomore position, he needs to make a bigger contribution on the field. And I see him as making a bigger contribution in receiving than rushing the ball, okay, because he's slender. He's not going to run it between the tackles. If you got any guy that can turn the corner, it's probably going to be him, all right? Yeah. It's probably going to be him in the long run.
And this was 2 years, you got most of the snaps 2 years ago, but you can see on some of these plays, he does, like you see, he's catching, he gets most of the ball. Yeah. He has the speed for it. He's just not, he's not going to be able to take I don't think he can take the balls in the hole. He has the vision, though. He has the speed to do it. Can he put all these things
together? But you see getting around the corner there.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
if you're going to run the corners on a team, you believe you can run around the corner, he may get more flips than the other guys, okay? Yeah. And he's more of a situational back than a primary feature back.
Yeah, that was my thing with him. My thought was, why can they not put him in the slot? Maybe could he convert to a receiver type role? Because at 6 foot, could he be a speedy guy that they throw into the slot every so often and use him in space? To your point, because some of these bubble screens they don't develop, but is there ways that they could better utilize him, just like they kind of did with Douglas last season? So maybe
if you match him up against the linebacker, if you can get that type of matchup, or against the safety maybe down the field. I think his hands are good enough to catch the ball consistently.
Yeah.
And then he's going to run away from people. So this is a big year for him as well.
Oh yeah. I think if he doesn't get if he doesn't get the snaps he wants,
he's out. He'll leave.
There's 2 seasons of him having less than 100, of really zero production or in terms of participation in big games. So I think he'll be writing on his wall to say, hey, I'm not going to get a shot.
I'm not, right.
And then he'll know if he's in the game, what his game plan is, and they're going to recruit over him. I mean, I think they didn't, really recruit a running back this year. I think they got one, but they'll have to start moving forward, right? It's kind of over for him. So hopefully we'll see what he's got. If not early, maybe he'll show how they're going to use him in the spring game and give some glances at that.
Okay, let's look next at Jakai Douglas. He was recruited out of high school. He's a redshirt sophomore. He was another superstar. These guys were all superstars in high school. Now he's 5'9", and he's about 198 pounds. I bet he'll come in over 200 or around 200. Now Jakai, but he hasn't been really given a lot of carries. But last year,
he was a true freshman.
Well, he's a redshirt. Yeah, he'll be a redshirt sophomore this year. He wasn't given a lot of carries. Yeah. He could be a guy that steps up. He could be a guy that steps up. Maybe if we have DJ and Treyshawn as 1 and 2, he could be a guy that comes in because you're going to get somebody hurt. Somebody's going to get hurt. So he could be in there to get a share of some of those carries. But the most important thing that I saw, and I think most fans would agree with this, that he does very well is catch the ball.
Well, I think that's where they see the value in him.
What was that game down the sidelines where he caught that ball?
We had a couple of those. He had one the other game,
yeah.
And then he had the one at what was the other one? No, that's his thing. He has the combination of speed, but you see this one at Notre Dame, right down the sideline.
That's a tough catch.
Oh yeah,
that's not an easy catch.
At the Miami, he saved the game at Miami. Remember, we were at the 5, I think, and he caught that one down the sideline the same way. But these are the plays I think where you line him up on the edge or you motion him out the side, put him on a linebacker that's trailing on him or spying on him.
Right.
That has to pick him up and you can't catch him. Here's the Miami play. He got
separation. Yeah, that's a good catch on the run.
He bobbled it, but he still caught it.
That's right.
That one came for him.
And he's confident in running out and gathering these passes down the sidelines. And he's running past people.
Got that he made separation, didn't get the he made the catch and kept running. So
exactly, he's got good hands. So I think that's where he's going to get some carries, but I think he's more valuable as a situational player in terms of third down passing or even a second down sometimes, which I hope we mix it up a little bit. So I don't see him as one of the top 3 guys on carries, but I see him in there on situational passes.
Yeah,
in that regard.
You have to use them like that. I think those are the weapons you have to get to be working the sidelines or getting them to cut across the middle and open up the middle of the field. Because I think that's something they struggled with. You don't see a lot of those in the middle of the field passes or, the running back coming out and trailing over to open up the middle of the field. Right. But I think those players can be used as gadgets because that speed is hard to beat. And so I think Toafili and him maybe become that gadget player because, like you said, I don't think Douglas is going to be taking carries down the middle and trying to get the tough yards for 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1. But I think that's where DJ and Ward become those big backs, and then you use Toafili and Douglas out on the outside when you're doing screens and things of that nature, or want to motion them out wide into a no running back look. So that's how I see it. So,
if the offensive strategy is not using it just as we talked like that, I think they're making a big mistake, and they're going to lose some of those guys if they don't get them on the field. I mean, they got to find a way to get these guys on the field. Now, another guy I want to talk about is Wren.
Yeah,
Wren. Okay, he's a redshirt sophomore. We got a lot of young guys in this running back room, and some of these guys will leave next year. You can bet on that. He's 5'10", 187. He's kind of a little bit of a small guy like Toafili. He didn't get many touches. They tried him at punt receiver, at punt and running back kickoffs. That may be his role. but he won't be satisfied with that. Again, he was a big star coming out of high school. He's just not big enough to pound it in the middle. So
I don't think they found his role either. He came out as an athlete. I think they thought he could be used as a receiver and a running back. I don't think once again, he was one of those speedsters that they haven't really found the right way to use him yet. And I think that's where they're struggling. Like you said, I think it was kickoffs, and then the kickoff team still hasn't gone well. Now they basically replaced him with Winston Wright on the receiver side. They recruited that guy from West Virginia, who's going to now be one of their major kick returners. So, Wren's not going to be used for kick returns anymore. So where he fits in, I'm not really sure. I didn't even look at him for the running back position because I don't think he'll be there. Hopefully,
they got to. Yeah. Well, the question is, where does he play?
It's got to be receiver. I think it's got to be some. I don't see him cracking the running back depth chart. I think he has to be play as an athlete, and he's going to find it on the receiving side because there's no other than the transfer they brought in. A couple of them are developmental projects that we'll talk about in another segment. But I think that's where potentially he could find a fit.
I think we should mention the other guys that are in the room. The portal guys is Trey Benson. Right?
Well,
Trey Benson. He's a sophomore. He's a portal guy, and he's like a DJ Williams. He's 6'1", 215. I bet he'll probably be about 220 to start the season. This guy who's had some injuries. He's had some injuries, but they're bringing him in on potential. So you've got him in the room. You've got C.J. Campbell in the room, who's a freshman, redshirt freshman. He's 5'9", 195. And then you got Rodney Hill, 5'10", 180, another Toafili type guy.
He's gonna redshirt though.
So these guys aren't going to make. Those guys aren't going to make contributions. The question is, how much will they get out of Benson? Or do they let Benson just ease in like they did DJ Williams and press him into action if they get injuries? There will be injuries on this group. You know that.
There really wasn't last year, which is surprising. They didn't have a ton of running back. Corbin stayed somewhat healthy, but you would assume there will be some injuries. I know that with Benson, I totally forgot about him because I was one of those guys that didn't think they should take him in the portal. I thought they should have tried to go after some guys from smaller schools that had overproduced in terms of running. With Benson, you don't have a ton of proven production. He was a player that Florida State recruited at high school that they liked. Then instead he went to Oregon with Mario over there, and he had potential, but he got a couple of chances and got hurt last season. And so he never got to show it out. But like you said, they like his size, they like his build. But he's coming off a pretty decent injury. So I don't know if he's going to be able to come back from that and be able to crack those top 2 or 3. If he's bought in to be able to say, hey, I'm going to sit for a year, pay my dues, train back, get back to where I need to be. I think he has probably the top potential in the group right now in terms of his size, his speed, if he can get back there. I don't see him contributing at what some people think he can do. I think some people think he's going to be like this great running back that's going to really help replace Corbin. I don't see that for next year. That's just me personally, but he has a good year.
I don't think he's going to be content with just say, I'm going to sit through this year. And I think he's ready to go. I mean, everything I'm hearing and reading, is he's not coming in injured. He was cleared to come in and play. So I think he wants to come in and play. I mean, I think now how much of a contribution he makes is unknown. There's a number of unknowns in here. So
and I think to your point, he is someone that Norvell. He is another one of those prototypical Norvell running backs. Norvell, recruited him when he was at Memphis. He wanted Benson.
He knows it, and that's maybe why he came here. Then.
Exactly. That's why he was like, okay, this guy's available. Because they were looking at 3 or 4 other options that were available at the same time. There's the other running back at Oregon was available. Guy out of Penn State was available. But I think they're like, I know this guy. I recruited this guy. This is my type of guy.
Sure.
Even though with the injury, like you said, you don't know. They say there's no lingering nerve damage or he had a major knee injury his freshman year. So, we thought what's his face last year was Mackenzie Milton was going to be good as to go. But you don't know until you see it, right? You don't know how it's going to be. I hope he is back to what he can be. You know, but you just don't know if he can, because this guy was known for his speed. This guy was known for his speed at his size. So if you lose any of that,
he could be the guy that emerges, you know, and sets it on fire. But we'll see. It's a question mark. Now, one thing I had on Jakai Douglas, who I like Jakai a lot. I think his potential is really good. You know, he caught 14 balls for 255 yards, and he led all receiving on yards per catch. He had 18.2.
He's a big play.
He's a big play guy.
Yeah.
You know, so I think he has a lot of confidence, and I expect to see him on the field a lot, and it's going to provide some mismatches, you know, for defenses. So
yeah,
you know,
and that's what they've been missing is the home run guy who can take the top off, whether it's on the receiving side or the running back side. You saw some of those plays in the beginning of the year. Corbin hit a couple, but you need a home run threat in the running game. So
now here's the problem. Okay, so I think we have guys in the room that can run the ball. If the line is improved, I think you're going to see better production. I think these guys can do it. I think there's enough guys in there now that can carry the ball, and if we rotate them appropriately, use their skills appropriately, I think we can get some good production out of there. Now, one of the things that bothers me about the running back room, and here's the guy in a portal I'd go after. We don't have a slammer in there. We don't have a slammer that you can line up at 4th and 2 to slam forward and get those 2 yards, or at the end zone. No, wait a minute. Exactly. Now, at the end zone, when we need 2 yards or 3 yards, and we got 3 plays to get it in, we don't have that slammer type of guy that can just tear it up going in there. That's a guy I think we need to either recruit out of high school, or we need to recruit or out of the portal, because that then it puts you in a situation you got to roll out and run pass option, or you've got to pass the ball because they know you can't run it in. Now
I think DJ can do that for you if he's there. He's 225.
Well, that's what I mean.
I think DJ, if he's ready to go, I think that he becomes that like thunder and lightning kind of. I mean, like I said, he's not 6'2", 225, but he has the size to be able to run heavy behind his pads. And I think he can give you an element of that.
That might be the role he plays. Because while we're on this, I want to bring up some sad news for Seminole fans, which you may, you know, everybody's out there. It probably, if you follow the program, you're aware of this. Is the unfortunate and untimely death of Pooh Bear Williams. Okay, Pooh Bear Williams. Some of you may never have heard the name, but if you've been following the program, Pooh Bear Williams was he just died in a tragic car accident not too far from his home in Crescent City, Florida. But he was on the national championship team of 1993. You know, led by Charlie Ward and Danny Cannell, who was basically a backup to Charlie Ward. You know, Pooh Bear Williams, and why we're talking about the slammer, that was his role on the team. Yeah. Pooh Bear Williams was about 6'1", 260 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, he wasn't going to be an every down back, but when you had to get those 2 yards and you're at the end zone, this guy could push it in. In 1993 on that championship team, I think, no, I'm sorry, either 93 or 95, I don't remember. He had 12 touchdowns. So he was doing that. He was the guy to run it into the end zone.
Yeah.
You know, we need that guy who's about 230, 240, and he plays that role to get that, who can get you that 1 or 2 yards. We haven't had that guy the last several years. If you know of a guy we had on this team that could do that, let me know. The last several years, we haven't had that guy.
Yeah,
Dalvin Cook could run it in. Yeah, he was big enough to run it in.
Yeah.
But that wasn't his role. He was a feature back, right?
Jakai Patrick, I think, was the last.
Yeah, Jakai,
sort of like that.
Yeah, he was on
Dalvin come out, and you had Jakai who could go and get the extra yards.
Yeah, I mean, I put down some bangers, what I call bangers, the short yardage guys you could give the ball to and almost always get those yards or get it into the end zone on short distance. And Jakai Patrick was one of those guys on my list. Another guy is a guy named Mark Lyles. Now, Mark Lyles goes back a number of years, but Mark Lyles was not a feature back, but he was a banger, you know? And in those days, they kind of used some of that. They had a fullback and a feature tailback. But that guy, when he got the ball, he'd take it right up between the tackles and get yards. So we had Lyles, we had Patrick, James Wilder. Now, James Wilder was going to come in and really take off. He really never developed, but he was a banger.
No, he was. You know? He wanted contact.
He wanted contact. He was a big dude, and he could get you that. Yeah. And then we had the linebacker who went to basically tailback, Carlos Williams.
Yeah. Yep.
Carlos Williams loved the contact as well. You know, he was the same type of guy. So those are the guys. You know, and there were a couple other guys, just to mention their names. I thought Dalvin Cook could get you those yards. He could just get it on his athletic ability.
Just run around you. Yeah.
He just run around, or he could run over you.
Yeah.
And another guy who could run over you and get you those yards as a banger, Greg Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Greg Jones. That guy was a load.
Yeah.
So we don't have that guy in the room now. I would use a scholarship to go find that guy. I don't care where he is. I did a junior college guy. There may be a guy out there that does that.
I think the issue is you don't see many of those backs anymore. Most you have guys that either are just freaks that are both speedy and powerful and can do both. Like you don't see many guys. You have the speed. You have a lot more speed backs who are just trying to get to the corner, get to the edge, or cut and run. You don't have just pure power backs anymore.
Right.
You know, or you just have guys like Derrick Henry who can do both. Are strong, powerful, and can outrun you.
And it's the style of offenses some of these coaches are running too that don't have that. They don't have that threat where you had that up fullback and then the tailback.
Yeah.
And they had to respect that guy because he would get 3, 5, 7 yard chips. He didn't get the ball a lot, but he did.
Just put in a lineman as a fullback and just walk away from the smaller running back.
The fridge Chicago Bears, right? You know, you have some kid that can run.
Yeah, that's how a lot of teams kind of supplement that.
But I think we have capability in the running back room, but I think there is a shadow over the room, and we'll see. We'll get a better look in spring, and hopefully we don't get a lot of injuries in there, but there will be some.
I think they have depth. I think it's the issue. Just to close this out, I think the issue is can they find their identity within that room? What do they want to be? Like, you know, I think when you have a lot of different voices and a lot of different people, it can be hard to, you know, split those carries efficiently because you may be like, well, it's hard to pull a guy out and plug another guy in. And even if they're similar, I think it's tough when you don't have one guy that's just like the hitter, you know, who's going to produce, and you're trying to rotate 3, 4, 5 guys. And I think if they can have an identity of, okay, you know, Toafili's going to play these balls, he's going to be our pass catcher, you know, he's going to rotate out with Jakai. They're going to be our catching backs for non-catching, you know, for, you know, 2nd and 10s or whatever. I think they just need to identify who are the packages built around, build those things out. And our first and second down backs are Treyshawn and DJ, or just Treyshawn. I think they just got to be clear of who they want to be and build that identity and let it play out and not try to tinker with it too much. Because I think that just continuity it can do a lot for a team. And you may hurt people's feelings. You may, you know, people may just be like, I'm done with this.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I think the team has good cohesion. I think you find out how many. I don't think any of these guys are going to be huge carry backs. A guy's going to carry the ball 30 times a game. I don't think that's going to happen. No. You know, I think sometimes a guy wants a little break, and you have to have 2 guys, maybe a third guy that's going to carry it that week. You know.
Yeah. It'll just be interesting to see how many carries they do give them, because I think there's sometimes they just didn't give enough carries to Corbin and Treyshawn, and they tried to establish the past 2, like they tried to do too much on Travis, and they didn't trust for some reason that the line or the running backs could produce for them or dump it down. So I think it'll be interesting to see how much they try to balance out the run with the pass, given that they lose Corbin, and it'll be interesting to figure it out. But I think they'll be able to. They have the potential to produce the same, if not more, yards from the running backs they have. I don't think Corbin losing is that big of a break. I think it gives just more opportunity for the guys that they have. So.
Well, I think in a future episode, we want to talk about probably some of the best running backs ever at Florida State. And that's going to take some time. I mean, that's a full episode for us because we've had some really, really good backs, especially during the Bowden era, and Jimbo too. But it's been a while since we had that future, that guy who's on every magazine. But that's another episode down the road. So
But, so I think it'll be fun to watch, and if you've seen what Norvell's done with running backs, it'll be interesting to see if he can find that guy, because he's got 3 running backs in the NFL right now, all from Memphis. So including one here in Washington, Antonio Gibson. So if DJ's his guy this year, let's see if he can make DJ into his Antonio Gibson and get him to catch and run. And maybe that's the formula. So, but yeah, I think that'll do it. And like you said, we'll do a future episode on ranking legacy running backs and where they land from Dalvin Cook to the guys from the 70s. And then, but I think our next segment, later this week or next week will be the receivers, breaking down the receiver group, how we feel about that. Not too much in terms of lost production, but I think it's a room that needs more production, if anything. And, there's controversy around coaching and if there would be extensions given, and they were given. So I think it's a make or break year for that room in terms of coaching and where Norvell goes with that group. And it could be the make or break for his tenure here at Florida State as well. So
why don't you tell? We've had one of our viewers say they don't know when the times are coming up, and tell how people should subscribe, hit the bell. Just tell people how they should do this, would you?
Yep. If you go right below and click that like button, also click the bell, you'll make sure that you get all the notifications when we schedule an episode, when we post a recorded episode. Just click the like button, click the bell in the top right of the screen. You should be able to click all notifications so that you're personalized. They get sent to you anytime we post an episode, when we schedule an episode, and you should see it every time we go live. So good question. But make sure you like every episode and click that bell, and you'll be alerted every time we go live.
And you can leave comments on the replays, that you're getting on YouTube. You can leave comments. We'll address those comments, even though it's on those. Some shows don't do that. We're going to address any decent comment, relevant, and address it in a future show, even if we're off topic. So if you leave a comment this week, we'll make sure we air that comment the following week and discuss it a little bit. We'll leave time for that. Okay, we'll leave time for that. So,
all right, well, I think that does it for today. Thanks for the time, everyone.
Now remember to turn off that blanket so you don't burn up your chair there or your house.
It's got a 3-hour timer, so I can't burn myself to death. So, good. All right, thanks everyone. Thanks for the time. Right. Have a great rest of your day, and go Noles. Take care.
Go Noles. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.